Welcome back to Making the Changes, my series in which we look at how to use arpeggios to solo with over jazz standards. Now I'm going to share with you something today which I call making the form. And this will be important for you if any of the following applies to you. If your solos sound like arpeggios, if your solos sound like scales, and if your solos lack direction. So in this lesson, I want to show you how you can use arpeggios to build musical phrases that fit the chords. And the key thing to go beyond sounding like arpeggios that really exploit the musical form and chord structure, and that you begin to move beyond just sounding like notes and your solos have a clear beginning, middle and end. If you're new here, this is part of my series Making the Changes, in which I address key foundations for jazz improvising. And I've got this quote on the screen from Miles Davis, which really resonates with me. When you play, you are telling a story. And I think that's often forgotten. We're so wrapped up in, what chords next, what arpeggio, or maybe what scale, depending on how you approach jazz improv, and at the expense of doing that. Now, I like to call this making the form, telling a story over the form of the song. And we're going to use Blue Bossa today. I'm going to show you in 6 steps how you can do this and transform your soloing. Now, the first step might surprise you, but it is listening. And what we're listening for, we are just listening for what does the form of the song, the chord structure, offer us as soloists. So you could put on a version of the song you like, or you could just play the chords and really actually just listen to them. And what are you listening for? You're trying to interpret them and take some more meaning from them. And chords offer movement, they offer interest, and whether that's from one chord change to the next or a larger structure. And I'll put on the screen and play through it in a second how I hear this particular song. So for me, the opening 4 bars, you got 2 chords of the same type. That's a bit of a gift, I think. We'll come back to that. The second line I hear as a movement of flow towards this C minor chord. That's all about a journey to that chord. That's then going to influence how I play over it. I'm not thinking D to G to C, I'm thinking a journey to C, which changes the way that I play over it. And essentially think less about all the individual chords and think a bigger picture, which helps you get out of the nitty gritty. This third line then is the outlier. This is the different line. This is where the harmony, it moves up to D flat major. So, that's going to influence again how I play over it. I want to make it sound different. And finally, like most songs, this song resolves at the end. It needs to get back to home, which in this case is C minor. Now it's subjective, but that's how I interpret it and hear this song. And I am then going to use what that form and chord structure has given me and play to it. Now, every good story needs a really good opening line. I'm sure script writers, authors must agonize so much over the opening lines for their writing. And you should really care about your opening line because it will determine what happens next, or it should do. And I always feel like the first phrase opens the door to the next. So if I play a strong opening phrase, I'm then more likely to follow that up with something equally strong, rather than just some sort of noodling nonsense. Let's reference a really good guitar player, George Benson. Here's his opening phrase to a solo on a live recording of Blue Bossa. Obviously, with someone his level, it's played with confidence, good rhythm, and it finishes on a strong note on a chord tone. Now, how do you come up with a strong start to your solo? Well, I think the first key thing is that you play with intention. You know the sound of what you want to play. It doesn't need to be complex, it can be very simple, but you're playing it with confidence and authority because you know what you want to play. And you can start really simple. You could just start with one note against that first chord, one note repeated with an interesting rhythm. Whatever it is, it doesn't need to be complex. It's obvious, but also play a strong idea. What is a strong idea? I think if you've just played it and you paused and stopped and you couldn't play it again, you couldn't hum it or sing it or just repeat it, then it's not a strong idea. Strong ideas have, a clear rhythm to them. There's probably an awareness of what's going on with the notes that you're playing in terms of intervals, and they're probably also memorable. So, if you're stuck with what that might be, listen to solos, sing what you play as well. That is really helpful for playing with intention and trying to play something melodic. Now, here are a couple of examples that both resolve to a chord tone, in both cases actually the root, and that's going to sound super strong and intentional. I mentioned the gift of this song earlier at the start. You got C minor 7 to F minor 7 in the same chord type, which is it's a gift when it comes to creating musical ideas. And this is where repetition comes in. And it can actually be this simple sometimes. Now, often when students send me videos of their improvising for feedback, 2 things are often missing, and they're quite simple things. And it does kind of flummox me as to why. They are space, so leaving pauses and rests, and repetition. And I think they're two of the easiest things to actually do. And particularly repetition, it helps you build upon what you've just played and help tell that all-important story. Give a thread to your solo. Now, I'll put this quote on the screen from Arnold Schoenberg. Intelligibility in music seems to be impossible without repetition. This is subjective, but if I listen to someone's solo and there is no repetition, they're just giving new phrase after new phrase after new phrase, after a while, it will just become noise and notes. And there might be the odd good phrase here or there, but it doesn't work and flow in the sense of an improviser that's telling a story. Now, there's stylistic choice there, but I think, if you're Pat Martino, you of course can do that. But most of us are not Pat Martino and can't play in such a fluid way that things like repetition are a great help to us when soloing. And here's some examples on those opening two chords that could really help you with this. You could repeat the exact same idea. You could repeat the same idea with slight variation. Or you could take that first idea and use the same intervals against the next chord. Remember here we've got C minor 7 to F minor 7, so the same chord type. Let me demonstrate that for you. Now that point nicely loops back to point 2 about the strong start. You can only repeat, maybe vary, do a varied repetition of the first idea if you have a good strong first idea. So it all starts from there, and as I said at the top of the video, the first phrase opens the door to the next one. At some point you close the door and start with a new kind of theme, new part of the story, new paragraph, but your next idea is, it really is determined by how good your previous idea is quite often. Now if we think of jazz as a language, sometimes we have short sentences, sometimes we have long sentences, short paragraphs, long paragraphs, so forth. No different really with jazz improv. And I hear this section in the song as being a point of flow, a journey to this C minor 7. And I really think we should exploit the direction of travel there. This is a minor 2-5-1 to C minor. We're in the key of C minor, so this 2 and the 5 is setting us up to go home. So we want to go with that. So to go with the story of the chord structure, you might try and play a line that resolves to C minor. You might play a longer line that stretches out across those 3 chords. Or you might just hear like simple one notes that pull and track that direction of travel. Blue Bossa is a very simple song structurally. It doesn't have a B section. If it did, it would be the third line, which is strikingly different to the rest of the song because it's not in the key of C minor. That line is in the key of D flat major, so it's a temporary key change. And if we want to make the form of this song, make the chord structure, then we need to be different and we need to follow the harmony there. It should influence the way you play. If you're still stuck in C minor, then it's just going to sound wrong. To go with that point of difference in the form, first thing you can do is make the changes either through arpeggios or through scales. Make sure the notes you're building your phrases around reflect the harmony of the song. Of course, I don't want to be too prescriptive about that in the sense you can use any note against any chord. But if you're getting to grips with improvising, you have to learn to play inside before you can play out. One way to highlight this line being different would be to go with a rhythm you've not used yet. Charlie Christian often did this. He'd fly into a load of triplets or 16th notes. Here's an example with quarter note triplets. Now Now, something the great Wes Montgomery would do to do multiple choruses, he'd go to the next chorus and he might go to octaves or chords, so his solo is building, so there's a story to it. And you could simply do that on this line, go to thirds, so double stops, go to octaves or go to chords. Either way, what I would try and do here is draw attention to the fact this line, the harmony is different. Point 6, have a decisive end. Leave no doubt that you have finished your solo, or at least the first chorus of your solo. When you listen to experienced improvisers, when they come to the end of their solo, it's usually incredibly obvious. Whereas people more getting used to it, their solo might just kind of, whimper out, or they might go into the next chorus by mistake. We want to leave no doubt that you're finishing. So how do you have a strong end? One thing you can do is make sure your last phrase resolves to either a strong chord tone of the chord at that time, usually on the one chord, or it resolves to just a strong note in the key, which is going to be a strong note in the one chord also. You could use a one you prepared earlier, I'm finishing lick. But really, just strong rhythm, confident ideas will do the job. Now, everyone watching this will have different limiting factors, which will affect how well you can solo. I've listed some of the common problems that I often encounter when helping students with their soloing. The first one, how well you've internalized the chord progression. What does that mean? Well, that is, if you're on C-7, the first start of Blue Bossa, can you hear in your head the next sound of the next chord? Or when you're soloing, can you play through it and just instinctively know where you are at any one time? Whether you're playing any song, do you know where you are in the form? You know the sound of the chord progression and the movements in it. If not, you probably haven't been playing the song long enough, or maybe you've not yet done enough listening of it, because you need to internalise those things. Knowing the melody well helps with that too. Poor chord tone, so arpeggio knowledge. Being able to play a convincing story-like solo could also be down to a lack of jazz language, or a lack of listening or transcribing. As I often say, the answers are on the recordings. Now, I think the internet causes a lot of people to go around in circles, cheap tricks, hacks and things like that. So here's a few things that I think maintain those problems. First one, failing to play a song over the long term. You should have a repertoire. You should keep practicing that. If you start practicing Blue Bossa in January, you should still be practicing it in January next year, in the sense of it's part of your repertoire. Yes, in a calendar year, it should be much better within a year. And in 10 years, it should be a song you're really fluent and comfortable playing over. But keep songs as part of your repertoire and they will reveal more to them. You'll have a closer relationship with them and be able to do more over them. Because hopefully over time, the melody and the chord structure, all those things, those key skills which often aren't talked about, become unconscious. The second one, lacking the patience required to really get arpeggios down. We hear those players that we really like. We want to sound like them. We want to make that jump from where we are to where they are. And I can bet you that majority of really good jazz musicians know their arpeggios, they know their chord tones. And yes, they can probably give you a quick hack or tip which can help you move quickly above for a short while. But what about that real long-term proper development? Well, that comes down to knowing these musical foundations really well. And that takes a lot of patience and determination and just sticking with practicing them. And I think the internet's not very helpful with that for most musicians these days. So, how well do you know your arpeggios? The answer for most of us is probably you're not well enough. And that's just a problem that you can either tackle head on or you can keep going around in circles. The third one, not enough listening or transcribing. If you're existing in a world of just, arpeggios and scales, and you're not referencing recordings, you're not doing any transcribing or looking at phrases of your favourite players, then you're definitely missing out on a key component of building up your understanding of the language. By looking at how other people have soloed over songs, you can take inspiration and imitate them in your own way. But try and do that from a point of understanding. You can look at what chord it is, try and make sense of why the idea works intervallically, and then by understanding it rather than just copying it, you can then utilise that knowledge to create your own similar phrases. Frustration with our ability or progress is often down to missing out key foundations. And I do think one of those key foundations is being able to express arpeggios and chord tones on the guitar. It's just a simple fundamental you should be able to do. So if you feel like you're missing out on that, or you might have missed out some key components along the way, check out my series, Making the Changes. 12 episodes of that in season 1, and that breaks down that whole approach to playing. Now, if you'd like the lesson resources from today, they are on my Patreon on the supporter tier, link in the description. I got to the end of planning this lesson and thought, I've actually inadvertently written and etude a solo of a blue bossa to try and make the form. So if I pieced it all together, maybe with a few little adjustments, this is what it would sound like. Thanks for tuning in. As ever, if you've got any questions or comments, leave them below. Don't forget jazz guitar lessons here with myself, Andy, every Monday. Until next time, you take care.